Hello, everybody, and welcome to WTS 285. My name is Danny Murray.
And I'm Graham Merrigan. How are you, Danny?
Absolutely tremendous, Graham. How are you?
I'm good. We're recording on Pancake Tuesday, and I love pancakes. Not only on Pancake Tuesday, but every day. Thank you.
I absolutely detest pancakes.
I want to take this opportunity to apologise to our listeners. We did record a solo pod last week.
Oh yeah, we
did.
The
sound was shite, so we didn't put it out. So sorry about that. We're back this week with a guest.
Yeah, we a little bit of a gap in the schedule, unplanned due to unforeseen circumstances. To be honest, lads, I tried to fix it, but look, I mean, this is a hobby. I'm not a professional sound guy, so but we made an executive decision that it sounded absolutely muck. So and I know there's going to be a smart guy. Oh, you always sound shy. Right, grand, well done, hilarious. You're very funny.
It's a shame though, because we had a great tangent last week.
We did, yeah. We talked about all sorts of crack.
But you'll never hear it. You'll never know.
Exactly. You'll never hear the story of the Chinese spies in Dáil Éireann with the Healy Rays. Anyway, moving swiftly on, Graham. Yes. As you mentioned, we do have a guest. We're back. Normal scheduling has resumed and all that. And our guest this week is the brilliant and the wonderful Fionnuala Moran, who is a sustainability blogger and reporter and journalist. She's doing a master's she's just finished her master's in climate change in DCU. She is a regular contributor to the National Media. You'll see her on the 6 o'clock show. You'll hear her on RTE. She's on RTE Pulse as well, hosting her own show. She's one of those people who you'd get jealous of because she's extremely, extremely talented and extremely, extremely brilliant at what she does. And thankfully, she's had a good chat with us. So here it is, Fionnuala Moran. Fionnuala, how are you? Thanks, Neil, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm absolutely marvellous. How are you guys?
Doing great. We were admiring, this is audio only, so people, but there's a lovely green wall behind you, and we were just admiring that
green
before
wall.
we kicked off. So you were saying you're going to, people on TikTok and everything being asking you about it.
I know, which makes it sound like I'm some kind of interior connoisseur, but I have got great use out of this wall because it's the only wall in the house that we painted so far, and we've been here for 2.5 years. That's what doing a master's in a pandemic will do to you.
I love that. That's a pace at which I can operate. 2.5 years to paint a single wall. I'm in my house 5 years, and I think I've had like about 3 attempts to paint anything, and usually I'm fucked out after because they're like, no, you're in the way now.
Isn't that the thing though? My partner's in the trades, Rebel Phoenix. He's a rapper and a roofer, which is a magic combo. But I thought that I'd be really good at doing like all of the handiwork around the house, and I hadn't really used my hands for anything since leaving cert art. So then when I went to do anything, everything takes 10 times longer than you think it's going to take, and it's 1,000 times more boring. And even the front of the wall, I don't know if you guys have ever had to paint Pebble Dash. An absolute nightmare. Yeah. I would have strong words for the person who invented that now, but that's one thing I can claim. I painted most of the front of our house, so I was very proud of that.
That is progress. Come here, we'll talk to you about all kinds of everything, but you mentioned a master's there. Tell us what you're up to.
Yeah, just kind of over the PTSD of it all now. So I don't get to graduate until the end of March, so I haven't got to close the chapter yet. So it's kind of like
it's still hanging over you.
An elongated breakup with my academic career. No. That's it. I really enjoyed it. I did. Went back to DCU. I'd done my undergrad there straight after school in communications, and I loved that. It was really broad. Got to do all sorts of radio, TV, performance bits, and have since come out and had a really broad career in all radio, TV, and performance bits. So loved that I didn't have to specify too young what I wanted to do. And then the pandemic hit, and I'd been doing a lot of stuff about sustainability on social media over the last few years. I'd gone vegan as my 2018 New Year's resolution after watching what documentary sent me down that way? Earthlings documentary on YouTube. I was like, and I went vegan overnight. And then the next year, one of my pals had been like, watch this True Cost documentary, please. Because I was still floating through the shops every second week thinking I was doing everything for the planet, the most sustainable person alive. And then I watched that documentary and I was like, oh my God. And I quit fast fashion overnight. So making lots of very big snap decisions that have been quite life altering. And then after the first lockdown, which was the long one where there was no flights going, we could see over to Wales, we could see up to Northern Ireland, Venice was getting dolphins, there are all sorts of mad stuff back in it. Like we'd all
remember.
Yeah, literally no air pollution, no nothing. And a report came out at the end of that lockdown saying that the emissions reduction then hadn't been enough to steer us off the course of warming that we need to get steered off. So I was like, oh, good Lord. So I jumped into DCU's Masters in Climate Change then, and I did that part-time over 2 years while I was working away. And I had a ball doing that. And as weird as it sounds, it was a really lovely distraction from the pandemic, even though studying one apocalypse while you're living through another doesn't sound particularly great. But yeah, met a great network of people there, which I think is what made it. And it was fantastic just hearing all these different perspectives. And in hindsight, might have been something to have control over while we had control over so little else in our lives during the pandemic. So yeah, I woke up 2 years later and now we have a master's and the pandemic is kind of over, we hope. So yeah, that was a wild journey.
So, Fionnuala, what I've heard the term fast fashion before, and I could probably hazard a guess as to what it is. But what actually is it?
So it's basically, do you know the way when you were growing up, you'd get like maybe Christmas clothes, and then my birthday's in July, so then maybe some new clothes for your birthday, like kind of twice a year. And there was only 2 seasons of fashion then. So it was like autumn, winter and spring, summer. Whereas now it had ramped up to 52 new seasons of fashion a year. So like new clothes being churned out every week. And that was lots of the bigger high street brands. And then with the advent of online shops, like all of the different, I won't name brands in this so I don't get you sued, but lots of the different big players in that space have really amped it up that they're putting hundreds and thousands, if you get to some of the biggest offenders, of new designs online every single day now. So it's this really unsustainable production model. It's wreaking havoc on the poor workers being made to make all the clothes. They've got barely any workers' rights, awful stuff, shutting down unions and different things going on there, being made to work in really unsafe conditions. And then as well as that, it's wreaking havoc on the environments that they live in and on our own more globally shared environment as well then. So it's just a really unsustainable production model, and that's just on the production side, but then on the consumption side of it as well, I think it's been targeted more at women so far, but it is spreading over to men. It's this kind of, oh, the stuff you had cool last week, like that's not cool anymore, you have to get new stuff. So it's a way, I think, of kind of keeping people financially impoverished as well. So yeah, there's
so I won't get me Stevens's Day tracksuit anymore. Just wear the one I wore on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
It's mad though, because like
Stevens's Day presents we didn't in my house anyway. We'll have to ring Santa up for those ones. He must have got lost.
It's mad though, because I remember reading about this a while ago, and like as I said, we won't name them, but everybody will know them when I just say thanks, hun. Right. So there was like a thing on it that was like just the amount of water wasted in the production alone, never mind all the other stuff and what you were saying about like workers and, you know, their situation, but just the water waste alone was terrifying. Like, and I was sitting there and I was kind of going, like, I'd be guilty of it. I'd be guilty. Like, if I go to the shops and I see a hoodie or something, like, I'll just get it. I'll just, you know what I mean? Rather than saying I've got like 40 hoodies in my wardrobe at home, I don't need another hoodie. But because
the thing where you can't see what you have, then so you're like, oh, I do need a new one because I'm stuck wearing the same 2 or 3 that I can see on the top of the pile of clothes, and I never get to the bottom of the floor drobe or the wardrobe or wherever it's all piling up.
The floor? Did you say the floor drobe?
Oh, the masters will definitely do that to you. I've only just cleared 2 years worth of a floor drobe.
Brilliant.
Like that. Do you know the Monica cupboard in Friends?
Yeah.
And she's like clean freak and the rest of her life looks really organized, and then she's got that one messy cupboard. If any relatives or anything were over in the house and they opened the bedroom with the floor drobe, like the shame. Like, it was so bad.
I think everyone has it though. Like, we have a dumping room, like it's a spare room in the house where it's just kind of like anything that either needs to go out to the shed or to the attic that we couldn't be arsed dealing with. It's kind of just put it in there for now, and it's in there for 6 months. Well, no, it's in there about 4 years online. But anyway, you know, everyone has
definitely have one.
Makes me feel a lot better.
Yeah.
So it, like, the sustainability thing, right? So you said there, like, very snap decisions for you in terms of you quit fast fashion overnight, you went vegan overnight. So, right, vegan is one that it's easily made fun of. You know what I mean? Like, people just love to kind of kick a vegan and then say, and they'll never have the energy to kick you back, lol, 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 right? But like, it's more and more, I'm seeing it more and more, these, like, you know, meat substitute kind of dinners and stuff like that. You're seeing it more on shops, in freezers and fridges, and even, you know, your McDonald's and all them, they do like a McPlant and all this kind of stuff now. So it's becoming more and more available. but people are still really slow to even just switch to like, I'll give up meat for 2 dinners a week or whatever. Like, but that's a really good thing they could do, isn't it?
Yeah, that'd be amazing. So I am vegan, but I don't believe that everyone needs to go vegan. I know just from different friends and family I have in my life that dietarily it doesn't suit everyone if they have different nutritional needs or issues or anything like that going on, but it works really well for me. And until it doesn't, I'm over in this camp and I love it. And it actually gives me loads of energy. That was one of the things I found when I switched over. Now, I did it overnight and I don't recommend people do that. Like, do work up like to 1 or 2 or 3 meals a week and keep adding different recipes and stuff that you love to your repertoire. But yeah, I did it overnight and then it was just a mad little journey of finding all these new foods. I think a lot of the time people think it's like this thing of deprivation, that you're like not having meat and not having dairy and not having all these things that you used to have. But for me, I was learning all these really lovely ways to cook different things that ended up being a lot cheaper and a lot easier. I haven't got food poisoning since I went vegan. So if anyone isn't particularly talented in the kitchen, very hard to give yourself food poisoning with a load of veg. I challenge you nearly to give yourself food poisoning eating a vegan diet. Wow. But yeah, I've just found it really, really handy. And it's brilliant that all those things are coming on stream, because I think a lot of the time, if I was recommending anyone to do it, I'd say try and do it from a whole foods perspective and use all of those substitutes as treats sort of in your diet, because they would be a bit more processed and everything else like that. But it's brilliant that they're there. Like, it's magic now that I can walk into whatever takeaway and get like any kind of Beyond Meat burgers or anything else like that. Yeah. Would have been unheard of a few years ago. Double-edged sword that though, because you can get like a vegan takeaway every other night of the week now. Really healthy when I started doing it, and now I'm like, oh god. But no, it's great to see those things becoming so mainstream, because once the choice is easier and cheaper for people, that's what's going to get the mass movement. I don't expect people to put themselves really out of pocket to do stuff, and it's the same with plant-based eating and sustainable fashion. I think people have these ideas that they're really, really expensive things to do, that you need to go off and buy all of these wild ingredients you've never heard of that cost a fortune in different kind of luxury food shops. It hasn't been that way for me. Like, any of the supermarkets you go into, they've got their Super 6 savers and it's always a heap of fruit and veg. And I just grab those, especially if they're in season and they're local, and chop them all up and see if I can make fun different like stir fries or stews or whatever with them, or like lovely big roasts with them. And it's the same with sustainable fashion. Like, the most sustainable thing is the thing that you already own, that's already up there in your wardrobe. And then beyond that, the stuff in the charity shops and Depop or at swap shops, I get them for ludicrous cheaper prices than I would have if I was buying them new. So that's the kind of end of sustainable fashion I like to focus on, is the thrifting stuff that's already in existence. Now, as a real purist, for the first, my maths is awful, am I doing that 4 years now, since 2019, 2023?
Yeah.
However many years that is, up until this year, I'd only been doing secondhand or vintage stuff. Whereas this year, there's some Irish designers now that I know have caught up to really legitimate sustainability standards, that I'm like, okay, I do want to support them now, because they're doing as good as can possibly be done in creating lines. And I do want to support local talent and local creativity and stuff like that as well. So that's something I'm going to look to veer into a little bit this year as well.
Is part of the problem, because you mentioned like vintage and thrift shops and all that kind of stuff, and I've like loads of the people that I follow on social media do like, their haul from whatever, not a car boot sale or whatever, but you know what I mean? Like, they've gone somewhere that's doing vintagey stuff to come back, and like some of the stuff is class, like some of the retro Adidas stuff, some of the retro, you know what I mean? But there's this kind of weird snobbery that like Irish people, and I'm guilty of it as well. Like, I'm where it's kind of like, I'm not going into it, that charity shop. I'm not. What if somebody sees me in there and all that? Do we all just need to get over ourselves a bit?
Really? Would you think like that?
I would, yeah. I'd have a bit of a kind of like, I'd have notions. I'm from Ballybrack, but like to think it's Clooney. Do you know what I mean? So.
I'm from Bray, and my dad always said that the houses in Killiney were always so expensive because they had the view of Bray, which is a gorgeous view, I must say.
That makes perfect sense.
Totally. That's why Bono and Enya and all are paying the big bucks over there, just to look at all of us sunning ourselves.
They're actually they're all living in East Ballybrack.
That's true. It is. Yeah, it is East Ballybrack.
Stunning. But that mindset that you're talking about is fascinating, because there was a guest on Tommy Tiernan, I think it was maybe 2 seasons ago now. His name escapes me, but it was a fascinating talk. He was a historian, and he might have been an anthropologist.
Manga, was it?
No, it wasn't him. He's amazing as well, though.
Yeah.
But this guy was talking about this kind of aversion to, anything. We had this like poverty in our psyche from the famine has still been passed down, and it's like this intergenerational trauma has been passed down that none of us have really dealt with. So I think that's where it comes from, because we would be one of the worst consumers of fast fashion in Europe, and that's mad to think about where we came from so few years ago. I think it was this year our population surpassed what it was pre-famine, or last year, sorry, even. But yeah, it's mad, and I get it that we have been so poor that we're really averse to feeling or leaning into anything like that at all now. Whereas even one of my pals who came over from Canada, she was like, oh, like we have consignment stores there. And even this notion that like you can sell on your clothes secondhand, and there's just a big culture there of buying things secondhand and buying people's used stuff and it not being seen as hand-me-downs, which is probably something we're all familiar with from our parents' generations and their parents before them. But like no one wanted to be stuck in the hand-me-downs. We always wanted the best of the best, the newest of the new. So yeah, it's a fascinating thing. And I think that definitely still exists in the psyche. I remember when I was trying to get some of my first articles over the line about sustainability, my editors were like, is it like, if people not died in the clothes, did they not smell like if you're going charity shop? And I was like, no, it's not, like obviously everything's washed, it's clean, like it's grand. A lot of the stuff is new with tags, and just for whatever reason people missed return dates or it didn't fit them, whatever, and they just passed it on. So it's funny like that as well. But yeah, I totally get that. And the main mindset nearly cursed there. Mindset.
You're all right. This is a Ballybrak podcast. You can't. This isn't door to you now, you know.
I was just trying to tell myself then, the dopamine hit of getting something new. For me, it was the same once it was new to me than brand new. I didn't need it to be brand new. I was just like, ooh, new shiny thing for me, even if it was secondhand, vintage, whatever else. So
But your psyche just change overnight, like.
The mindset, I took the first 6 months was a buying ban, because I didn't have a clue back in 2019 what sustainable fashion meant. The conversation wasn't really that evolved around it then. At the time that I was starting, Taz Kelleher and Geraldine Carton, two fab gals.
Oh yeah, brilliant. Yeah,
they were just setting up, and they were called Sustainable Fashion Dublin at the time. They're now called the Use Less Project. But they were doing a lot of education around it, and that was fantastic. And there was kind of this amazing community building, all trying to learn what it was. So that was fascinating. But I did 6 months of buying nothing, and my job at the time, I was an entertainment reporter, so I was off on different red carpets or at like influencer events, celeb events every other night of the week doing interviews. And some of the time there you would be like, oh Jesus, because you're beside these like perfectly turned out people, and it's their job to look absolutely impeccable all the time. And I'd be in bits that I'd worn like over and over and over again, because I didn't go shopping before I quit fast fashion. I just quit. So I had what I had when I started then. But yeah, after that, I kind of, the mindset of like, oh, I need something new for this event, I need something new for this event, just started to ease off. And I started to curate my wardrobe into just pieces that I loved. So it wasn't anything that was just on trend that week. So I looked like whatever I was meant to look like, according to whatever fast fashion companies were pushing upon us. So yeah, that was one of the ways I got myself out of that, and just finding my own style. I've never been one of those people who's kind of like, oh God, I could never wear that. I'll wear anything. I don't care how ridiculous it is. If I like it, it's on. So yeah, that was the first 6 months. And then after that, I was only buying secondhand bits, and I was really trying to limit even that, because even if people can't commit to doing secondhand stuff, if we all just bought way less, we'd be doing so much better. And in turn, hopefully the companies would start producing less. But we don't know if that's the way that'll go, because obviously their bottom lines are caught in that, and they're all profit driven. So yeah, we mightn't get the whole world order rearranged in the hour, but we can do our best.
Like it's those little things, just even because, even as you're saying it, and like I'm openly admitting that I'd have an element of snobbery about it for myself. Like I wouldn't bat an eyelid at somebody else, right? But this I just do. But then equally, I mean, I bought my car secondhand. I bought secondhand Air Jordans. You know what I mean? So it's like, why do I have this mental block then about popping into Oxfam or popping into wherever? Because I'm just like, it's just, and I think there's probably a lot of people out there, probably, I'm definitely putting words in people's mouths there, but I'd say
dead right. And like, sure, my dogs and my house and my fella, they're all secondhand. Like everything in my life secondhand. I don't care. But like, it is funny how we group all these different things that way. But what you say now, I think there's an interesting reverse coming around too, that a lot of people now are smug about finding something secondhand. So I always get people coming up to me being like, oh yeah, like showing off their thrifted bits real
No
proud.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've seen that even in influencer culture now as well. A lot of people like, not boasting, that's the wrong word to put in it, but like celebrating the things that they found vintage or secondhand. I'm like, amazing, because that's one of the reasons I think the eBay Love Island partnership is so good, dressing them all in thrifted pieces on the show and things like that, because the more we can mainstream it and normalize it, the more it's going to bring down the amount of new clothes being bought and the amount of resource that takes in and everything else, and the toll that's taken on the planet. A big thing that we're building to on an EU level is the circular economy. At the moment, the way we buy fashion, say, get it in the high street or online, wear it once or twice, however long the micro trend lasts, and then put it straight in the bin. That's called the linear economy. And it's like take, make, waste are the steps of that. Whereas the circular economy, once something is made, we keep it in production for as long as possible. We take really good care of it. We repair it. We do whatever, mend it, wash it carefully, everything like that, extend the life cycle of it as much as possible. And then when we're done with it, we sell it on secondhand, or we donate it somewhere, or even use it for rags to clean the house if it's beyond any passed on in. So it's just those kind of ways that we stop wasting everything. Like, disposability is really new. Our grannies would be horrified if they saw the amount of clothes and food we were buying and binning and everything else like that. Like, it's a really new habit in Ireland, and that's why I'd have a lot of confidence now that we're kind of becoming aware of these things, that we can unlearn all of these habits. Because if we can learn them, especially the buying clothes to wear once, that is a wild psychological phenomenon that only came in because fast fashion and social media kicked off at the same time and created this perfect storm that like warped our minds into being like, oh God, I've been seen in that before, I could never go out in that again. Like, celebs don't even do that, and they're getting all their clothes for free. Like, everyone's rewearing their old vintage bits and different stuff like that. So it's mental that people with way less financial means, like the rest of us, are being trained into that kind of buying pattern. And this
is this why I'm seeing way more double denim on the go? I'm seeing Canadian tuxedos everywhere, like, do you know what I mean?
Go on, Brittany.
But like what you're saying is dead right. Like, and even that, the whole like repurposing them, and you know, like the Marge Simpson dress comes to mind as well, you know. But the two girls, Taz and the other girl's name's gone from my head there. I remember watching them doing a video, and it was like turning an old t-shirt into a bag, like a tote bag. And I was like, yeah, now I'm not allowed to run with scissors or play with staplers, right? But like, I could have a go at that. I could easily turn around, and like, I'm wearing 2XL, so it'd be a big bag. Like, I'd do the little shop with it.
Be giving the IKEA bags a run for their money.
This is it, like bag for life, no bother at all, you know. So like,
we can get so creative with the materials we're reusing. I was lucky enough to get invited to the Stellar Awards this year, and I've been nominated for the Lifestyle Award. And obviously, the house that we've moved into that we haven't done anything up with yet, the net curtains that came with the house were lying around, and I brought them down to the zip yard, and they turned it into a big dress. So like, the net curtains. Yeah, so those curtains have probably been sitting on this house since the 1950s. Like, they were really good quality, proper material. It was stunning. And then they got a whole new life out in the red carpet all those millions of years later, like millions, like less than 100 years later, but 70 odd years later. So there's magic little things like that that we can think about. Or even I had another event that I went to, and there was a dress my mom had in the wardrobe.
Oh, I've seen this on your Instagram.
Yeah, for 25 years. She wore it to a wedding when I was 3. I was a flower girl. And then it was very of the time. The waist was really low. That isn't kind of really in anymore. I got the skirt a bit brought up higher, and then just wore it out to a red carpet all those years later. But like, it's those little things, kind of seeing, can we edit things a little bit? Is there any other purpose this could have after it served its initial purpose? And just keeping all those textiles in use. So yeah, make bags out of your t-shirts. You'd be laughing at the whole shop in them.
I think the way you explain it, like, I've seen other people online or whatever, and this is not to blow smoke up your arse, but you explain it really accessibility wise, you know. And other times when I've heard people explain it, it's kind of like, oh yeah, it's easier said than done. But then when you're explaining it, it's like, yeah, it is easy.
That's the thing. I get so much joy out of it as well. Like, I want other people to share in that joy. My whole thing with the climate comms is like, support over shame. Because like when you kind of learn all this stuff initially, and I was definitely guilty of this when I like started doing my vegan bits and started reading up and loads about it initially. I was like, oh my God, everyone has to know this. But that's not a way to get people on board, like shouting stuff to people that they don't want to hear. But yeah, my whole thing, whether it's like even with my music show, I always came at that as a generalist, and then doing the masters, I always wanted to stay a generalist. Like I don't want to be a science communicator. A, because I'm the most enumerate person I know, and I get the numbers wrong every time I try to say them. I add a few extra zeros on, and I've totally changed.
Without the dress is 1,000 years old.
Honest God, yeah, my mom is 1,060. But yeah, like honestly, I don't know what's going on in my brain there, but they just come out all the wrong way. But for me, that's what I enjoy, is when people make complicated things easy to understand. So it's like, okay, I'm really passionate about this, but I just want to communicate it as myself, which is a very light generalist, having a bit of crack way. Obviously it is all doom and gloom, and we all kind of know that. So I don't know how useful it is to keep telling people that. I always think if you're going to tell people not to do something, you have to show them what to do instead. So you can't just be like, no, don't do this. You have to like let people know how they can step into that movement if they want to do their little bit and see what works for them. And that's why I always would not be very prescriptive, being like, we all have to go vegan or we all have to shop secondhand. If you're a busy mom of 5 and like you're not going to have time to run down all the lovely shops I do, from Camden Street, Georgia Street, and Wexford Street, all there. That's my favorite strip of charity shops. I know you won't have time to go and float around there as much as I do and see if you can find a little bargain here and there. But I don't know, if you're doing like hand-me-downs or swap shops in your kid's school or anything like that, you've saved yourself a heap of money, and then you're also giving all those clothes another life as well. So like people will all find their own way to engage with this.
Big time. And what's the easier message out of the two in terms of fast fashion and veganism? Like, I mean, I know you're saying you're a journalist and you don't want to be annoying people, so to speak, but in terms of the wider scenario, which is the easiest message to translate to people?
I would say the fashion one, because everyone gets dressed every day. I know everyone eats as well, but the fashion is far less politicized. I'm not sure if that's the word I'm reaching for, but there's a lot of lobby groups and stuff around food. So if I'm asked to go on any of the political shows and I'm going to be up against like a very intense lobby group from the agriculture sector, that is stressful. And I am just trying to say like, woo, do you want to try this fun recipe I made? And it's like really nice, full of vegetables, as opposed to like, I believe in a just transition in the climate movement as well. Like I think any dairy and beef farmers in the country should be fairly helped to find different paths if they want to get out that and into vegetable farming, or different things that are more conducive to like keeping the planet under the levels of warming that we need, if they want to get away from the intensified dairy that the lobby groups generally represent. But yeah, I have found the fashion one more accessible. I think it's quite fun. I'm also telling people that the most sustainable stuff is the wardrobe they already have. So there's absolutely no spend involved in that. There's a really nice community in it as well. That said, I'd love to see more guys in the space. We could do it way more fellas selling stuff secondhand on Depop or eBay or anything like that, or doing swap shops and different things like that, because there's loads of women doing it. So we're really lucky then in that we have loads of choice and loads of options. So it's very easy for me to be like, oh yeah, just buy secondhand things, because there's loads of gals around my age, my size, selling stuff that I like. Whereas if my fella goes looking for stuff secondhand, the selection isn't as good. He'll have to like go looking a little bit harder in the charity shops or the vintage shops like that as well. But there's still deadly bargains to be found. So
yeah, it's mad because like in terms of the lads, one of the things that I've noticed is like vintage football jerseys. They seem to make a big comeback. Do you know what I mean? And I'm kind of like, there's definitely going to be a load of them banging around the place that people would be like, especially somebody like, man, I think we talked about this a while ago where it was like,
yeah, I have one on now.
There you go. Look at that.
1998.
I mean, it's an awful pity it's Shamrock Rovers, but we were talking about like, I think was it like Fiorentina and Juventus and like Italian, like some of those jerseys were unreal, man. I'd wear them out for a night out. No, I know. Look,
yeah,
you know what I mean. But you mentioned there, Fionnuala, as well around.
But I don't know if that helps fast fashion, because I think they're being made in China or whatever for Like,
So I'm talking about if there's any actually still out there.
yeah, it'd be great if they're just lying around the house and people can find them on their
Because I know
Depop.
I did, like, now in fairness, that obviously, you know, there were like kid sizes or whatever, but there's small people out there who need fashion as well. Do you know what I mean? And like, I still have.
Shop in the kids section, so I'd be happy to check them out.
No, see,
Yeah, there you go.
So, like,
you're after actually inspiring me to perhaps open up one of those Depops.
Definitely. Well, this is the thing. The more and I always said this as well, even blogging, like there's so few male fashion bloggers in Ireland. It's such an oversaturated female market. There's I could count the fellas doing it on my hand, like there's so few of them that there's a heap of money to be made for people there. And then even doing the secondhand stuff as well, the more people in it, the better it gets for everyone, because there's going to be more choice and everything like that. So I would highly recommend getting involved. And yeah, it's funny with the secondhand jerseys now becoming popular. It's always the stuff you gave away that you're like, oh crap, they're going to be worth a fortune. Same with the babies and all. Some of them are worth a few grand now, and you're like, oh god, where are they?
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's mental.
You mentioned the kind of just transition thing there, and farmers, and I'm with you on it, right? And I want to be careful here, because in no way, shape, or form do I want to praise Jeremy Clarkson, right? But
yeah, we're not doing that now here. He's an absolute tramp of a man.
He is, right? But have you watched Clarkson's Farm?
No, absolutely. I won't give him a time.
No.
I did watch it, right? And look, again, you're right. I want to be really careful here about sounding like I'm praising him, right? But the one thing that I took from it was just how difficult it is for farmers, but how quickly and easily they can adapt to things in terms of being more sustainable and more environmentally friendly, and using their land for something as simple as kind of like, right, rather than having, you know, always having to rely on like a massive beef herd and all this, like, just pivot to something else. Pivot to, you know, like there was one fella who I followed up on it afterwards. He's just gone exclusively to bees now, making honey, and like it's like a fucking. I think he has all the bees in England. Like, it's huge.
All the help they can get as well.
Oh my god! Like, and I was like, this is mad. He's turned an entire field into like beehives, millions of them. And like, he's saying, yeah, all right, look, it doesn't pay me what it pay me, but, you know, I'm doing my bit. The bees are doing their bits for all the other local farms, and I'm selling bucket loads of honey here because.
So did he get rid of his cow herd for bees?
And other stuff as well, but the bees are the ones that stood out to me, because I was like, Ireland, like, I'm constantly hearing about bee farms in Ireland, constantly.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
and all of our bees are endangered as well. So basically, the bees support our global food system. I think, is it like 9 out of 10 of the ones we have here in Ireland, I think, are endangered at the moment. Yes. And then there's a whole other ecosystem of stuff there, like pesticides, which we should try and stop using as well, are killing all of the bees as well, which contributes to the biodiversity crisis that we're in as well. So like all these things are really, really interlinked. And I heard a mad stat the other week, because like obviously a lot of the time the argument is put that vegans hate farmers, which is absolutely ridiculous, considering all we eat is vegetables, which farmers make. So it's interesting the way some of those arguments have been framed. I haven't met a vegan yet that wants to see farmers go out of business. I know, listening to different conversations going on about that, we have been absolutely pitted against farmers all the time. But yeah, like, I am not a farmer. I live in an urban area in Dublin, so I am not going to give any kind of advice as to what farmers should be doing now, but I would love to see them getting all of the help that they can to be more sustainable, because I know some of the conversations I was listening to, even farmers who want to do more rewilding and grow more trees on their land, they get penalized for doing that in certain ways. So there's a lot of red tape from policy perspectives that we need to get out of the way. I'm not the expert to delve into that, but just helping as many people as we can do as much as they can, as soon as they can, is what we really, really need here, because it is a crisis. So if we could just giddy it up in as many ways as possible, we'd be doing great. But
even that, even like the like whatever farmers using their land to like do trees and all that kind of stuff, even like people who have gardens and just I know Eamon Ryan got a load of stick over saying grow vegetables in your windowsill and all that, right? And like sometimes I find with Eamon Ryan, he's got a good message, but he's just, you know, you can't, like, anyway, look. But there's definitely.
I totally agree.
No, like it's kind of like, Amo, I want to come with you on this one, Amo. I do, but Jesus, man, come on, give me something. But like,
And I wouldn't mind my little window boxes of salad give me so much joy. Like, and we can do them out in the garden wherever else you get the nicest basil. It's so fresh, rocket, anything like that. My lettuce leaves were growing through to December. And this is on like a window box as wide as like less than a meter long. The windowsill is just outside the tiny little galley kitchen that we have. And it was making heaps of food and saving me buying all the plastic bags of food then as well. So those little things, as much as maybe it's not the message everyone wanted to hear right at the beginning of a pandemic where a lot of us have turfed out of work and everything else, there is a brilliant even connection to nature I found in learning how to grow our own bits of food and be a little bit more self-sufficient. By no means in any way close to being fully self-sufficient, but it just really made me be like, whoa, this is the amount of effort that goes into making food. It made me so grateful for the farmers that do all the work. I only threw like even one little spray of potato into a rough ground we had at the back, and I got a load of potatoes back, and I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. But by no means like enough to sort us out for the year at all. So it if we all sort of got that connection to nature back, I think modern life can have us living really out of touch with the planet that sustains us. So any way that we can sort of come back to that a bit is brilliant.
Yeah, like my wife, she would be way better in the garden than I would. I cut the grass because I'm told to cut the grass every so often, right? But even that we're trying to do like less, because that whole thing of like, no, let it grow and all that kind of crack, it's good. But like
biodiversity,
all that stuff. But she started doing all the strawberries and gooseberries and radishes and all, and every so often she get really excited. She'd be like, look, and I'd go out, and in fairness, the strawberries were whopper, right? But I was like, we got about 12 strawberries out of this.
Yeah.
So obviously there's a huge amount that goes on. So when you're looking and you're kind of buying your punnet strawberries in the shop or whatever, I'm like, the amount of effort it must take to get like all these like it does give you that appreciation for
and I also heard that the news bulletins when I was in work this week, they were only saying that there's shortages of some fruit and veg, and that's obviously not gone on the last few years. We've seen how supply chains are so delicate. So as far as I'm concerned, like our globalized food system, it's so complex and it's so nuanced, and there's no real easy clickbaity, this is the solution kind of headline. But one thing that we should be looking at is ramping up our production of all of these things at home and really supporting farmers here to grow such a wide variety of fruits and vegetables that we can grow in this climate and that are so good for us nutritionally. Because I think John Gibbons, fantastic environmentalist. He does the serious end of everything. And I hop in on the light end of stuff then. But he had a tweet that went really, really viral last year during the apple season in Ireland, where he was in a shop buying an apple that had been shipped in from New Zealand. So by the time it gets here, it's probably been refrigerated for how long? That creates huge emissions, all the refrigeration. It's been transported, again, more emissions. It's losing nutrition the whole way along as well. And then it finally gets to our shelf, and it's for such a wild low price. Now, I'm not saying up the prices of vegetables or anything like that, or fruit in a pandemic or in a cost of living crisis, because everyone's struggling enough to pay for stuff as is. But it is mad how far we've come from, like, I don't know, maybe the true cost of the labor that goes into those fruits and veg. It's mental. So I'm all for subsidizing farmers to grow a huge variety of really cool fruit and veg at home, and maybe not be doing as much milk powder for export or any of those other things.
Yeah, it's mad,
isn't it? It's absolutely wild that apples come to the Irish market from New Zealand.
But like, this is like, people laugh at like my ma or whoever, people in their 60s and 70s and that kind of thing, who talk about like, oh Jesus, when we were kids at Christmas, you know, a surprise in your stocking would be an orange, and we laugh back going, that would you? But like, the reality is that's because fruit was seasonal. Yeah, it is. And now we live in this world where, you know, 24/7, 365, you can get a mango. Like, mangoes aren't native to Ireland, lads. Like, why would we be able to get them all year round other than the being?
The strawberries bought out of the strawberry season are crap. They're not worth the money. Just get the lovely ones from Wexford when they're in season. That's the whole thing. Like, if you are trying to get more sustainable with your food and maybe like going plant-based or whatever fully isn't for you, just looking for local in-season food and supporting local growers as much as you can is amazing. I'm based in Dublin 12 now, and there's a fab little market just down, what would that be? It's like just before you go over the bridge into Ballyfermot beside Labra Park, tucked in behind there. I don't know, the Bluebell.
Bluebell, yeah.
Yeah.
The Lewis.
this is showing you how little I left my house when I moved into this house doing the masters for 2 years. I've no idea where I live, and I've been here for 2.5 years now. It is, if you Google organic market Bluebell, there's a load of local farmers who come in from like the Dublin Wicklow Mountains, and they sell gorgeous vegetables, all grown locally around, and it's amazing. But it's really good value for what, like, I would assume took them ages. It's still not wildly more expensive than the supermarket. Totally understand if people don't have time to be going out to different markets like that as well. But like, it's a real joy for me. Obviously, I'm trying to grow little bits that I can in my own garden, but then to go down and see what other people have been able to grow locally and be like, oh my God, all of this is grown like up the road. I can see those mountains from my house. Like, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Supporting any of those local growers as much as you can if you're in a position to do so is a great way to go as well.
Big time. And as you said about sorry, man, I was going to say, and as you said, even about the little bit of basil that you got out of your window box and all that, like, the other side as well, and we won't dwell on it because we don't want to, but like, lads, be careful about where the stuff's coming from as well, because a huge amount of basil comes into Ireland actually comes from Israel. So, you know what I mean? If you're one of those people, just mind yourself. Anyway.
I was going to say there earlier on at the start, you were saying about, you know, you're not pushy on people being vegan, and because whatever health situations or whatever, I had kidney stones, and I'm on, like, I had them out 2019, 2020, and I went in to see my consultant, and he's like, how are things? How's the food and stuff like that? I was like, yeah, I'm a vegan now for the last month. And he just ripped me a new one. He said, no. He said, I can't have you on it. He says, the likelihood of recurring kidney stones is quite high. Once you get them, there's like 65% chance of relapse. And I was just looking at my phone because he gave me a whole list. I have to have an oxalate foods diet.
What is that?
Moderate oxalates. So it's whatever's in. Like, I was lashing so high oxalate foods, avoid these foods. So for a period of time, 2016 up to about 2018, I was pissing through smoothies with like spinach and blueberries and blackberries, and they all had high oxalates.
Okay.
So the high oxalates in those foods, my kidneys find it hard to break down.
Okay.
So he was like, no.
Well, I think you can drink a lot more than you ever would eat in a day. You know, if you're just blending it all up to drink it, like, you're probably putting way more food through your body than you'd ever like, you wouldn't sit there and eat a bucket of spinach and a bucket of berries.
Yeah.
Little glass. You're like, oh yeah, grand.
Yeah, grand. But like, so he gave me a list of, and it says on his list, and it's his Mr. McGuire's kidney stone information. Hi, Mr. McGuire, a lovely man. Enjoy these low oxalate foods containing less than 2 mg oxalate per serving. Do you know what one of them was? Cheerios. I could enjoy as many bowls of Cheerios as I wanted. So
I was on the Two Johnny show today, and someone got scurvy, they said, because they ate nothing but Cheerios for 6 months. So
what? Scurvy?
I think there's 2 different camps there of whether or not,
No way.
Don't they have that hydrogenated palm kernel oil that people love avoiding as well?
Probably do, yeah. But if you're getting scurvy, you're not getting...
But I was allowed lemonade. I had to swap Coca-Cola for lemonade and stuff. It was a mad experience. But yeah, just saying, that my consultant veered me away from veganism. I tried it for a month, and I was with my aunt and uncle. And my uncle is he was a chef in a previous life, and the foods I was having up in their house, like the Indian dalis and stuff, and I really enjoyed it, but I was happy to come off it.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. It'll work different ways for everyone. And like, the vegan diet can be really fibrous as well, which I know doesn't suit other people if they've certain bowel issues and different things like that. So that's why, like, with food, if you can do a plant-based meal here and there and really just like reducing your meat intake a bit is going to be good for the environment. But whether it suits you physiologically is a whole other conversation. So it'd be a bit mad for me to go like, no, everyone eat what I eat. I think as you get a bit older as well, you sort of get the self-awareness to be like, okay, just because I'm doing something that really works for me, like, everyone's life is so different that you can't be preaching like this one size shoe fits all sort of thing.
Yeah.
There's no Cinderella answers here.
There's not. I've cut back on the old red meat. That's the one that I find I'm kind of like, that's probably me. It doing myself good, but equally doing good elsewhere. So I only have red meat like once every 2 weeks now. So
Yeah, treating it as a treat. Like that's what we
Yeah.
used to do, because this is a really new thing in Ireland for us to eat meat at this American rate of like with every meal some days, or like every meal not being complete without it. Like it used to be a treat growing up, like we were saying with the oranges and the stockings, like people just being more in tune with the seasons. So
yeah. That's it, and that's it. Like it's little small adjustments. Nobody's saying that you have to do what you did, your mad thing, where you just overnight went, I'm done. That's it. I'm out. Like, do you know what I mean? That's, to be honest, Fionnuala, it's mental, right? And
I don't disagree. For me as well, though, I feel like, because I would get a bit overwhelmed by, I don't really go on Twitter or anything like that anymore, but I would get a bit overwhelmed feeling like if I read too much of the news cycle, I'm like, oh Jesus, it's all coming in on top of us, and it's all where the world's ending now, so I have to fix it all now by myself and just get it all done. Like I find taking action is like, okay, I know that like my plant-based eating, whatever way I'm doing, is reduce my emissions loads. I know that like the way I'm consuming fashion is helping the planet a bit. I know that I'm not putting any Roundup in my garden, so I'm not killing the biodiversity out there and potentially putting cancerous stuff near me and my family or in the water system more locally as well. So those different kind of things, like just, I think one link we haven't really made, and I think the more people who come to the movement really realize it, we're huge about well-being at the moment, and climate action and that conversation is going on there. But I think those two really go well together. Like for me, all of the climate action I've done and all of the changes I've made to my life, it's really improved my well-being, the solace in my life, the peace that I have, the health that I have. So I think the more people realize, again, with all these different sustainability things, they're not coming from a deprivation mindset, even though a lot of the time it sounds like give up this, give up that. Like they've added so much to my life. And that's why I go around chatting about it all the time, is because I genuinely love it. And it's gotten me out of the kind of capitalist rat race. I'm not in this like keeping up with the Joneses or the Kardashians or whoever the hell else is this generation's one, all the time being like, I need more. Like, I know how much I need to live now. I do the amount of work that lets me do that. I know what I enjoy doing when I'm not working. And that's like hanging out with my absolutely gorgeous little dogs and my family and going out for walks and doing all those kind of important things. And like a little bit of stewardship of nature, the little bits that I have control over my garden, like they're the things that bring me absolute joy. So even I think I saw in the news this week that the 4-day work week trial in the UK went really well as well. Same as the Irish results went really well. So I hope the more time people have and the more they get to kind of breathe and step away from this insanely unsustainable burnout cycle that we built society up into, it'll just make people go, oh, okay, yeah, maybe that system wasn't working really well. And maybe we can find another system now beyond that.
I think the pandemic
sorry, Danny, for 1 second. What an absolutely wonderful promo there.
Absolutely,
for someone to try and to try and turn somebody on the right path. I mean, all you needed to say was kill capitalism for me, and I was on board.
I tried to slide that in places, because if you just come out with just the statement, then they're like, and how? And then you have to pin your sale to whatever other system.
No, but that's genuinely, that was lovely.
It was, and you're 100% right. Like the simple message here is, look, right, grow a little bit of your own veg, lads, right? Bring back your 1990s Liverpool jerseys, right? Keep the jeans you have, bring down the capitalist agenda, and you'll save a polar bear. That's what we're getting at. That's all this, it'll be grand.
And who doesn't want to save polar bears?
Exactly, they're class.
Butterfly effect in action right there.
The thing you said there as well, though, that kind of like, it's, the whole thing is just about finding what works for you. And when what you were saying there, kind of, it sounds a lot like everybody just needs to slow down a little bit. We've all been running at this mental pace that just isn't good for any of us. We were doing it for so long, probably blindly. Then the pandemic came along and we all kind of got to press the reset button a little bit and went, this flexible working thing where I've got more time at home with the dogs, more time at home with the kids, more time to myself. This is a good thing, and
we've never had more access to information and stuff. So even I think we'll be one of the first generations kind of coming up through that really get to understand this might come off ridiculously. I just think so, because of all the TikToks and stuff I see from really, really young kids now totally understanding political systems. And I don't remember knowing anything about the political systems I existed within when I was growing up to the extent that kids do now on social media
Same.
platforms.
Sure, I voted Fine Gael the first time I could vote. What a fucking idiot am I? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You had a private ballot. You didn't need to rat yourself out there.
Exactly.
Look, lads, I'll admit me mistakes. I'll admit them openly.
Oh God.
But yeah, like that, I think we're living in a really politically engaged time now, and it's going to be really interesting to see what happens over the next while. But I just think it's fantastic that different companies like opting for 4-day work weeks and remote working and all the kind of flexibility stuff we were always told was impossible to do, but suddenly became possible overnight. It's just going to be fantastic to see how much those benefits lend to communities then when people have say 3-day weekends and they can give like a day to their own hobbies and admin or whatever, a day to their family, and then maybe a day back to the community. It's just going to be really interesting to see how we choose to restructure that society. I think we had this golden window and all of us sort of in the environmental movement thought post-pandemic, okay, it's our turn now and we're going to make loads of progress and it's going to be this huge concerted effort to make everything better like we had with the pandemic and all of us abiding by the different regulations. But then the war kicked off and obviously that took all of our attention, rightfully so, trying to help everyone there. And now I feel like in a lot of places there just seems to be, as much as there's horrific stuff going on in the world, in so many places, there is so much good going on and even so many community movements building up to do all sorts of really cool stuff. I know you are living close enough to me, but like even when I was about this time last year, they set up, I was walking around locally and I saw a thing on Bin and it was posted for Change Clothes Crumlin. So now like just around the corner from me, after night in the evenings when the schools are closed down, there's this two amazing girls are going in there and doing swap shops. So all of the local people are going in with the clothes, swapping them all around. And that's just such a really cool show of community and the circular economy all in action and how it all sort of ties together. And it's really nice because then you get chatting to people you never would have met locally, and you get fab new clothes for free.
That's brilliant. Defo.
Come here, Fionnuala, you've been an absolute diamond with your time. So thanks so much for that.
I really love that, Fionnuala. Thank you.
But before we let you go, we'll just keep you for like 2 minutes longer, just because obviously you are you're big in the showbiz world in terms of your coverage and everything else, and as you mentioned earlier on, red carpets and all that crack. And I know it's being done to death, right? But like we're all a bit giddy about the Oscars. Like, there'll be a few coming over this side of the pond, won't there?
There's gonna have to be, and more specifically to this side of the Irish Sea as well, I hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can stop here, and they best not claim any of them as British when they win either. Yeah, I'm sure you saw Barry Keoghan's speech the other night, the BAFTAs, absolutely blown away. He's always been a sweetheart. I remember interviewing him, what would that have been, 2018 or 2019. I think he was over here for the IFTAs. I met him at a few different carpets and he has always been the most cheeky, hilarious, down-to-earth, genuine person. And his vision is the most inspiring thing. I remember him, it was like before Batman and everything else, listing off all the directors he was going to get with and all the roles he was going to get. And they're all just coming true. Like literally, he is the ultimate manifesting queen. Like he's just like tick, 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 like getting it all done. But it just shows what a bit of self-belief can do for you. And like I love that he's still shouting out the community that helped bring him up into what he's doing now. Like I just think he's such a good ambassador for the country. So more success to him.
I remember seeing him on Living with Lucy, and his partner, and I think her name is Shauna. And I was thinking,
you're not together anymore. You're going to keep up on your entertainment bulletins.
That's my point. I was so invested to Living with Lucy that when I seen that he had a child and it wasn't with Shauna, I was like, no, why did you just break up?
They were a lovely couple as well. I haven't met his new missus, but I assume she's absolutely gorgeous as well. But yeah, Shauna was a dote.
Yeah, that whole episode was doty, and then they just broke my heart then.
Yeah, I'm very jealous of Lucy getting to live with Gemma Collins. I got to work with her once when she was over in Dublin, and she's even more of a diva in real life. She's on the telly, if you could believe.
Jesus, yeah, well,
Gemma now, not Lucy. Lucy is lovely on a screen.
Lucy's a diamond.
Lucy's lovely. We love Lucy. Yeah, but it's the whole Oscar season thing has everyone giddy, and then seeing the bit of success now with the BAFTAs and a few other awards and all that. Like it's just. We love it, don't like in Ireland. We just love that whole thing of like we're just a small little rock in the middle of the Atlantic with two big bollocks either side of us. So when we punch above our weight, it's deadly. Like
Well, I loved the movie After Sun with Paul Mescal. Did
I
any of you
haven't
see that?
seen that yet.
I haven't seen it yet.
I watched it completely blinded, not knowing what it was about, and I thought it was lovely.
Yeah.
It was,
Will I
He's
be
another one that seems
hard
sound.
after it?
sorry?
Will I be balling?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Oh,
I've got the
yeah.
eyeliner on today, so I'll give it a good night.
Yeah, no, you will. It is the end, particularly. Yeah, it is upsetting.
Yeah,
yeah, but
he's
like,
gone to some ridiculous level. He had a great pandemic now. There's
did,
one
yeah,
person
he did.
didn't know who Paul Mescal was going into the pandemic, and now he's on
No.
the Oscar stage.
And I love normal people, but I thought the Daisy Edgar Jones was the start of it, and
And she
she's
got
obviously
snubbed for a lot of the awards, weren't people saying as well? Like he kind of got a lot of the shine, and she was overlooked for a lot of the awards. Then,
yeah, which shocked me. I thought it was going to be kind of equal, you know, that way,
Mm.
because the two of them I thought were brilliant, but he seems to be shining more than her. She's still like working and getting good jobs, but she doesn't
he's
seem
still
to
at
be.
the acting.
Still at it.
Because her Irish accent was brilliant to normal people.
I was shocked when I heard her speaking around voice then, because that's a tricky accent, and we're harsh critics of it to get it right, and we know it's been butchered 20 million times over. So yeah.
Far too many. I think, is it Helen? No, not Helen Mirren. Who is it? In that 1926, the Yellowstone.
It is Helen Mirren. Yeah,
It is Helen Mirren. The accent.
Yeah. It's terrible.
Oh, lads. And I love Helen Mirren. Love her. Like, honestly, they could make Jaws. She's the shark. I'd watch it. I love her. But like,
what was the Irish gang film or series there last year? The RT one. I loved it.
Kin.
Kin. Your man, the brother, he's English, and his accent is deadly.
Yeah.
Did either of you watch Kin?
No.
Oh, Kin was great.
I was doing my thesis, so as someone who works in RT,
You have an excuse though.
That's
right?
your excuse.
if I wasn't doing my thesis, I heard it was brilliant, but I didn't have time.
It was deadly.
It was on Gogglebox, but we weren't given it, so I didn't watch it. So
Right.
there you go, man.
Home of the Year could win an Oscar now. That's my current addiction.
And look, it's a
Look,
good
we go
one.
on a tangent about TV now.
We definitely will. But look, after all that, Mero, basically, you're saying watch After Sun. Your eyes will be sweating, but watch it.
Yeah, definitely.
Deadly.
He's very good now, and the little girl is brilliant in it.
Class. Fionnuala, thank you so much for your time. If people want to follow you on your sustainability adventures and as you do more showbiz stuff and on RT Pulse, where to get, but where will they get you in general?
Instagram is my most active one. That is at Fionnuala Moran.
Deadly.
Lovely.
I'm off to open up a Bebop page. Is that what it's called?
Depop.
Bebop. That's what I meant. Bebop.
Your man from the Twirls on the Bebop and Rocksteady, wasn't
Bebop and Rocksteady. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, all right. Yeah. And that's retro as well, Mero. So you're in the right mind frame. You're in the
exactly.
Fionnuala, thanks so much. It's been an absolute blast. And look, all the best with it. And we'll hopefully chat to you again soon. Brilliant. Love that. I feel energized towards like just making small little micro decisions to be more sustainable, to be honest, man.
Yeah, well, like, I mean, as well, the Depop pages that you can make to sell some of the clothes in your wardrobe or runners or whatever. I mean, it makes perfect sense to do that, because not only are you getting involved in that cycle, you're actually making a bit of money. Like,
well, that's
you know,
it's better in your pocket than elsewhere. Like, but
yeah, well, I have a wardrobe there full of shirts that I'm sure that I could sell for 600 quid a pop.
These are custom made Gucci's.
Yeah, exactly.
Slightly different to the €3 pennies that are in mine.
Well, actually, I probably have a few pennies as well. But no, joking aside, I think it's just about the effort to do that. I mean, because you obviously have to take a photo of your items and stuff like that. But I'm going to make a concerted effort to try and do that, to be honest, because I have a wardrobe full of clothes, and you're kind of looking at, like, I'd wear tracksuit tops and hooded tops and stuff.
Yeah.
Tops that I'm actually, as I'm talking to you now, I'm looking at a top that I haven't worn, I don't think, in 15 months.
Yeah. And like as Fionnuala said to us, like we're a brutal old bunch for that kind of carry on, where it goes into the wardrobe, it stays in the wardrobe, and it doesn't see the light of day again until such time as you decide to do a big clear out, and then sure what's done with it, like.
Yeah.
You know?
Big time. And I just want as well to say that I loved that podcast, but I also loved her two dogs. Her two dogs made an appearance pre-record and post-record, and they are stunning. And when you follow her on Instagram, you will see the dogs in action.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Fionnuala, she was an absolute diamond, and we're very, very grateful for her time and for teaching us a little bit about how to be more sustainable with our fashion and our choices and everything else. And I'm going to get involved with the lovely Oksana out in the garden now this summer when she's planting stuff, because I'm going to come back on this podcast in a few months and talk to you all about the wonky carrots that we grew and the radish that we grew, because in fact, she didn't grow a huge amount of them, like, because, you know, it was our first one giving it a go. But, like, you know, there was enough for a couple of dinners there, a couple of salads.
The wonky carrots.
We see, man, that's the thing, because, like, all the carrots don't, like, do you know what I mean? You're going to get carrots that are wonky. Like, everybody thinks that they just grow perfectly straight. No, man. No,
would you take carrots in a chicken curry?
I wouldn't personally put them in it, but if they were in it, I wouldn't complain.
Right. And would you take them in a bolognese?
Yeah, in a bolognese now, yeah. I would. Yeah. I wouldn't be mad about bolognese in general, to be honest with you, but I would now. I'd probably grate the carrot and add it in that way.
That's fair enough.
But yeah, I'm gone mad for slow cooker recipes, Graham. We'll talk about this next time we have Gary and Paul on the podcast, because the two lads are mad for the cooking as well.
Perfect.
I'm gone mad for the slow cooking, but this evening I tried to make homemade chicken tenders. Shit show, Graham. A shit show.
I don't want to hear about it because I'm not a fan. Chicken tenders in the slow cooker?
No, not in the slow cooker. No, I tried to do it with the air fryer. But
yeah. Perfect.
Far too much flour, a rookie mistake. And if I'd left them the air fryer,
you know, Gary's the king of the air fryer recipes.
He is, and it's my own fault for not consulting with him before I tried this, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not like you, because you've been consulting him about the slow cooker stuff.
He hasn't steered me wrong, Graham.
I know.
And in fairness, Paul Howard as well, he recommended throwing in a bit of dark chocolate into a chili I made recently, and he was on the money. Ooh, difference maker. Nonetheless, anyway, look, Mero, that was a good episode. I really enjoyed it. It was a
really
good
enjoyed it. I found it very like easy to listen to and not forceful. Like
exactly.
Kind of other environment, climate kind of activists in the media. So I really enjoyed that, and I would hope that we can talk to her every couple of months. Yeah,
it'd be great to. If people want to listen to the previous 284 and bonus episodes and whatnot of this podcast, Graham, where can they do so?
They can go to WTSpod.com, or they can search WTS Pod on any podcast provider. You can go to Podbean, Podcast Republic, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere and everywhere you can get a podcast. Just search WTS Pod. He's at Danjo Murray on Twitter. I'm at Merrigamania, and we're both on the same handles on Instagram too, if you want to give us a social media folly. Until next time,
clear eyes,
full hearts,
can't lose.
Can't lose.